I must thank the Muslim Council of Sri Lanka for arranging this discussion on something which is a very timely move, because this is a time when the country has to be made more aware than what it is on what is going on behind the scenes. I must at the very outset mention that I am not speaking here, though the card says Director General of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission. I am speaking on my own behalf, not on behalf of any organization. Having said that, I wish to first and foremost draw attention to the need for us to be conscious of certain pledges that have been given by the present government in the run-up to the elections that was held on the 8th of January. For that, there are three documents that I would like to refer to. Firstly, the Common People's Agenda that was signed on the 1st of December at the Viharamadevi Park Open Air Theatre. I, on behalf of the National United Front, as its leader, I was also signatory. The second document is the manifesto of then presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena that were released on the 19th of February, again at the Viharamadevi Park, different location. The third one that I think we should be conscious of is the 100-day program. If you get to the last clause of the 100-day program, you will find that talks of dissolution of parliament and going for general elections. That would be on the 23rd of April this year, which means another leaf will be opened thereafter, possibly with a new manifesto. I would like to confine myself, in the light of the subject that have been selected for today, constitutional amendments, rather proposed constitutional amendments, and minority from a minority perspective. That's the subject for us. In that regard, what I would like to first point out is that as far as we are concerned, I mean here the people of this country, not any particular minority, there is a need to recognize that there is a huge change in the country that was ushered in from the time the new manifestos were released, the 100-day program were released, Common People's Agenda were identified, and the people of this country voted for change on the 8th of January this year. Now, significantly, the change is away from racism, communalism, if you take one of the four major points that had been, I will not want to use the word terrorizing this country, but it was almost that. But there were other three issues: good governance, corruption, and cost of living. Rather, the disparity between the communities in this country, not the ethnic communities, between the classes in this country. Now, these are four issues on the basis of which the change was ushered in. How do we look at it from the minority perspective? I think the most important and the earliest proposed amendment is the constitutional reforms that was pledged to be enacted on the 17th of March this year. The time we have another probably 1.5 months for that. A little. Now, this is one of the vital steps, I think, from the minority perspective. After the proposed electoral reforms, which have been explained to some extent by Dr. Jayampathy Wickramaratne, we come to the next important one is the repeal of the 18th Amendment and the restoration of independent commissions, which is supposed to take place thereafter on the 23rd of March. And then finally, on the 20th of April, the repeal of the executive form of presidency as we now have, and restoration of parliamentary form of governance in the form of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers being answerable to the Parliament, and some aspects being delegated to the judiciary. Now, these are the parameters within which I would like to very quickly, because of the time factor, run through. If you take the electoral reforms, what are we talking about? We have the district PR system, which was one of the matters which this government promised to repeal and go to the first past the post system with a mix of PR. In the draft that has been in circulation, which I referred to should have been released officially in a transparent manner so that there will be public discussion. After all, you don't amend constitutions, I mean, every day. Those are very vital, very significant. It will have immense impact on the people of the country, of all communities. And therefore, it is important that there must be full discussion. Now, the first step is, with regard to constitutional reforms, nothing is being said in the papers that are in circulation. What have been published in the Colombo Telegraph is an official document that has, according to Dr. Jayampathy Wickramaratne, which has been published, and I think we can safely go by that. You don't find any reference to what should be done the first one, electoral reforms. Now, I am fully aware of one matter, that there is immense pressure from small and minority parties to play for time. But there is a pledge before the people, and I think we have to be fully alert to ensure that those pledges are fulfilled. In order to do that, we have to be quite alert to pressurize and lobby for that. Because these parties, whatever it may be, they can have their own viewpoint, we respect that, can scuttle the process and leave only the executive presidency to be abolished without amending the electoral system. I am, for one, I am strongly opposed to amending the executive presidency without amending the electoral reforms, or rather bringing that. I'm also in agreement with the JHU on this point. The JHU viewpoint is both should be done together. Why? The executive presidency has been balancing and as a counterweight to the exigencies that can occur in a parliamentary system where small and minority parties dominate. Now, I am a person from the minority Muslim community, but I will not support the undue dominance of Muslim political forces in this country for one good reason, that it will have dangerous repercussions in the long term. If you want to have the BBS and other forms to raise its ugly head again, you amend only the executive presidency. You will have all these people come onto the street, and you will find those who worked against our interests as a minority will come forward with a new program. What is the new program? That Parliament is now controlled by small groups. We don't need, this is going to have repercussions in the long term. What we need is give us our reasonable rights, that is enough for us. Particularly, Muslim community has known to survive on its own without any great blessings from the government. But nevertheless, when it comes to electoral reforms, if you take the basis, I'm only trying to reply to Dr. Vikramatne in his absence. If you take the Dinesh Gunawardene report, the proposals are very clear. Of course, there are some corrections and improvements that have to be done because you have already the 160 electorates. You have 8 multi-member constituencies, 168. The Constitution has finalized that. When the first delimitation commission met and enacted, that has been concluded. All what you need is some minor amendments. You can have the first election in June this year under the first past the post system with a mix of PR. We should not allow any group to defeat this objective. Then you are defeating the present government from its mandate that was held out to the people. We should be very clear that there is an obligation on those who support that this government should continue, should ensure that there's no room given for any group to hold the entire country to ransom. The change that I want to underline is this. For the first time during the last 100 years, I think Mr. Sumandaran referred to what happened in 1947. The first legislation depriving the Indian Pakistanis of their civic rights, of the voting rights. Not only that, the first enactment of law was the Galloy Development Board, and we don't have to talk about what happened. But we need not be talking about this forever. There is a new chapter being opened of coexistence, pluralism. A huge struggle rests on our shoulders, on all of us, majority and minority, to help us to have a breakthrough in this, not to go back to this racist communal politics, which is emerging both from the majority community and also from the minority communities. I'll take, for instance, that Sumandaran's party. In 1976, what you got a resolution? What did you all do? You passed a resolution that deemed the Eastern province as Tamil. You will see in the last clause that that is North and the East. Of course, North is substantially Tamil, but not the East. There is historical record to show that the Muslims have been there even before the Tamils came. I'm not going to debate that with all respect. But the point is, even when we went to Madras on a delegation led by the late Dr. Badiuddin Mahmud, after the Muslims were expelled, what happened? We met all these groups, including the LTT, and we met the TNA. You can ask Mr. Samandan very carefully. They did not recognize except our cultural rights, religious rights. No more. We came back broken-hearted. So it's not only the majority that had been sitting on us, even minorities like the Tamil community, not all. We have our own respect for the Tamil people of this country. But the political leadership had been so strong that we have not been able to come to a basis to work together. We are now having a basis. Let us get together on a common platform, a divide of all these political ramifications of minorities, majority. Let us think as Sri Lankans, of course, from a national perspective, while protecting the community's interests. You have to protect the Tamil community's interests. All of these who are here, the Muslim Council, the National Shura Council, and others, they will, of course, look after that. We in political parties have a duty to cater to those. Having said that, I'm not going to take more of your time because I was given 20 minutes. I thought I'll finish it in 15 minutes. There are many issues for discussion. Short time is not possible. Let me commend once again the Muslim Council of Sri Lanka for initiating this very valuable discussion. Thank you very much.
Knowledge Box, the value-based media network.